Hi. For our next instalment of Good News Media, we've got Sarah Kenny from Gladiator Events, a B Corp that runs outdoor challenges for charities in the UK. I'm not a man that's ever done a Tough Mudder, but it sounds excellent. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
Let's kick off. Just tell us a bit about what you do and the great stuff you organise for charities.
Sure. So we are ultimately an event management company, and we work exclusively with charities to put on outdoor challenge events for the sole purpose of raising funds, excuse me, for those amazing causes. So what we do is we look to create something really unique for each charity that we work with, and rather than just rolling out something that might already be taking place in multiple places across the country, we look at really what is it that really identifies that charity's personality and message. And we look to weave that into the experience of the event, because ultimately everybody who is coming along to that event is coming along to show their support for the charity. And the goal is to build as lasting and strong a connection as possible between that charity and their supporters, so that they can ultimately raise as many funds as possible, but also become really long-term supporters and advocates of that charity as well. So what we look at is how we can really engage the supporters when they come, and how we can really build those really strong connections and those emotional connections between the charity and their supporters.
That sounds really cool. I think I'd feel quite emotional if I'd done a Tough Mudder. Maybe is there an example you can talk to us about that connection, what you built, and the charity and the people that then did the challenges for them, and how it went?
Sure, absolutely. So the types of events that we organise generally fall into two or three different categories. So we have our obstacle racing events, similar to the Tough Mudder concept, but they tend to be a little bit more inclusive and open to a wider ability. So they're very much family-focused events. A lot of the time, children can come along with their families to some of our events. And they can vary anything from a 2.5K with 10 obstacles to a 10-mile race with 35 obstacles, of differing complexities and suitable for all abilities in different ways. But the type of challenge that they offer for people can be a real achievement for people taking part in these events. And what we look to do throughout the experience is, rather than just set people off at the start line, off they go and head off and take part in the run or obstacle race. We look at ways in which throughout that experience, when they're out on the course, they can remember why they're there ultimately. And so we have a lot of volunteers that come along from each of the charities we work with, who are there as the cheerleaders, really encouraging people along. We'll often have signage throughout the course that will really remind people about key achievements that they're helping that charity reach, and goals that they're working towards, and a real sense of celebration at the end. So we have a sort of event hub, event village at the end of each of our events, where we really look to have opportunities for people to find out more about where their money's going, and how they can further support that charity. But yeah, the type of events that we do aren't just obstacle races. So we also do long distance treks that could be anything up to sort of marathon distance treks, which can be a real challenge for people. And then we also do the very inclusive style events as well. So we work with Parkinson's UK, for example, and we put on a series of relatively low impact walks. It's called the Walk for Parkinson's series, and it's really aimed at bringing together the community of people that are either living with or affected by Parkinson's as a condition. And it's really gathering a spirit of togetherness and building a community of people, so that they've got that support network around them, but also the opportunity to find out more about what might be available in their local areas to support them as perhaps carers or people living with those conditions themselves.
That's amazing. There's yeah. So have been personally affected by family members with Parkinson's. So yeah, that's a great thing to learn about. And on that spirit of inclusion, it is B Corp Month. So can you give us a sense of how that's built out for you, your model, and how you operate in that sense of inclusivity?
Sure. So we've been a B Corp now for 2 years, and we've really been always, but because we've always worked with charities, it's been very important to us that we are responsible using our funds responsibly, because ultimately we're being entrusted with funds from very, very worthwhile charities that are looking to maximise their fundraising. So it's always been important to us that we're using those funds responsibly. So the way that we're structured is to, with a completely open book approach with all of the charities that we work with, and we're really looking to maximise the return that ultimately they can get on their funds. From an internal point of view, as far as how we operate as a business, it's the event industry can be a very stressful industry to work in. It's high stress, it's very hard work, and it can be very mentally and physically draining for everybody involved with it. And so the sort of workers pillar of B Corp is an area that we really hone in on as being super important to keep all of our internal sort of HQ team and our external team, which is an enormous team of freelance staff and operations crew that come along to help us at our events. We're always looking at ways to improve their well-being and really focus in on how we can provide support and encouragement and a good balance for those that are ultimately integral to the success of our events. So we've been doing, since we've become a B Corp, we've been doing huge amounts of work in really looking to challenge the what can be considered a norm in our industry of the kind of inevitable burnout and hard work and long hours and stretching yourself to your absolute limit. We really want to challenge that as a norm, and so we look at as many ways that we can support our workers and our extended sort of worker family as possible. So that's an area that is of real importance to us as an organisation.
Yeah, and in terms of purpose with profits, some less reputable companies might like to burn that talent as hard as they can. Do you find that you're not putting yourself at a disadvantage by caring for your talent? Some people might say, well, why, if you can make them work 16 hours without a break, why would they only do 8? But that doesn't seem like a problem here.
No, I mean, ultimately, it's the success of our events depends on the quality and dedication of the staff that come along, and so we have such a long-standing and trusted group of extended team members that come along and work for us year after year, that we can trust, that really are absolutely integral to that feeling of success at an event and represent us authentically in front of our supporters, in front of the charities. And so, yes, there's an alternative that we could go for, not taking such great pains to ensure that we're offering fair hours and everything else, but ultimately that's going to affect the quality of the staff that are representing us at the events. And consistently year on year, we find we have such incredible feedback about the atmosphere. The volunteers that all come along to help at the event are looked after by our team, and they all come back with fantastic feedback on how well they're looked after and how supportive and engaging the team is. Because ultimately at the event, our team is responsible for representing the charity that we're working on behalf of, and so we really need to ensure that our team is as motivated as we are to really be working hard to make that event a success, rather than just being there to get their wage and head home.
Yeah, no, it sounds great. It sounds like a wonderful project. So yeah, I think on that note, on that good vibes of festival, let's cut it there and we'll go back to the studio. So thanks, Sarah.
Fab. Thank you so much.
Cheers.